It's Nigel here once again, and today I've got for you guys the next crime analysis video. So this one is going to be for Mr. Gianni Versace. So, as always with these crime analysis videos, viewers' discretion is advised. You may hear some things that may be uncomfortable for you to hear, but without further ado, let's get into it. So, we gotta start off with who exactly is Gianni Versace? So, he was born Giovanni Maria Versace on December 2nd, 1946, in Reggio Calabria, Italy. And again, if I mispronounce anything, I do apologize. His mother was a dressmaker, which definitely you could see fit into his love for designing fashion and everything. Versace was strongly influenced by ancient Greek history growing up, and he studied Latin and ancient Greek at Liceo Classico Tommaso Campanella, although he didn't finish the course. And one of his influences was Andy Warhol, who's a director and everything, I believe. But, or artist, I should say, an artist. So, he began an internship at his mother's sewing business and moved to Milan at age 26 to work in fashion design, although he was initially interested in architecture. So, of course, Milan, the fashion capital of the world, and he moved there to work in fashion. So, in 1973, Versace became the designer of Biblos, which was a successful youth line by Gianni, which is an Italian ready-to-wear manufacturer. And in 1977, Versace designed Complice, another line for Gianni, although this one was more experimental. So, so soon after, he presented his first signature line for women at the Palazzo della Permanente Art Museum of Milan, and he has first fashion show in September or that year here, a few years down the line, and his first boutique was opened in Milan's Via della Spiga, which was one of Milan's top shopping streets in 1978. So, a lot of big moves for Versace at this time as he became influential in the fashion world. His boutique led to Versace becoming a sensation in the international fashion scene, becoming known for his vivid colors, bold prints, and sexy cuts, which were seen as a refreshing contrast to the style at the time of simplicity and muted colors. And we have a quote here from Versace, and it says, "I don't believe in good taste." Now I'm not 100% sure what he means by that. I guess he means he's not interested in like the taste of what they perceived as good taste at that time. He was looking perhaps for something different, something bold, something more unique. So he ended up having a rivalry with fellow Italian fashion designer Giorgio Armani, and we have another quote here. This was a saying which encapsulated the rivalry between Armani and Versace. Armani dresses the wife, Versace dresses the mistress, I should say. And I think that is a pretty interesting quote, as it shows that Armani is more about, more modest and things like that. And meanwhile, Versace is more about like being bold and being out there, and he was known for being out there. But in 1978, Versace built his company, appointing his brother Santo as president and his sister Donatella as vice president. And he also appointed Donatella's husband Paul Beck as menswear director. So, one of Versace's notable inventions was Orton, which is a super light chainmail material. And Versace suits were inspired by his experience in female tailoring, going back to the internship he had in his mother's sewing business and everything. And he crafted suits that accentuated the male form. So, they said he saw men more as like sex symbols and everything, and being more like um, being more pleasing to the eye to look at in that way. Eye candy in a way. But Versace's designs took inspiration from historical fashions and art movements, more specifically Greco-Roman art, which fit into his southern Italian heritage, and it fit into, of course, the history he was studying and everything at the time. Well, back then, the Latin and the Greek and everything that he was studying back then, and to see it carrying over into his fashion designs is pretty cool to see, honestly. And in 1982, Versace expanded his business into jewelry and houseware, and he employed celebrities for his marketing campaigns, and he would seat them in the front rows of his fashion shows. And at the time of his death, Versace's empire was valued at $807 million, with 130 boutiques across the world. And he also did costume designing for stage productions and performing artists, and he was the first to link fashion design to the music world. So this link allowed him to become friends with many celebrities, such as Tupac, Eric Clapton, Princess Diana, Elton John, Naomi Campbell, and Madonna. And he married Antonio D'Amico, who was a model in 1982. And he was very fond of his nieces and nephews. And his niece Allegra is the director of Gianni Versace SPA, which is Versace's fashion company. But you may also know it as just Versace, the name of the company. But so here we see Versace as like this big, bold, like innovator in fashion and everything, and we see him being friends with all these celebrities, really linking celebrities to the fashion world. So, oh, he was friends with a lot of people, so he ended up having a lot of influence and everything. But now we get into the crime and what happened. So, on the morning of July 15th of 1997, Versace went out for a walk on Ocean Drive in Miami Beach to get his morning magazines. Even though Versace usually had his assistant grab the magazines, Versace decided to retrieve them himself on this day. So, as he was climbing the steps of his Miami Beach mansion, returning home and everything, a man dressed in a gray t-shirt, black shorts, a white hat, and carrying a backpack shot Versace in the head at point blank range with a 40 millimeter caliber Taurus PT 100. He was pronounced dead at Jackson Memorial Hospital at 9:21 a.m. and he was 50 years old at the time. So his murder was witnessed by Dean Aslett, who was Versace's former UK stylist, and Aslett was on vacation in South Beach at the time, and he had partied with Versace just a few days earlier. So the gunman's name was Andrew Cunanan, or is it Cunanan? Again, if I mispronounce these, I apologize. But Cunanan was a spree killer who murdered 4 other men, and he ended up committing suicide 8 days later. But now here's where things kind of get interesting, but also a bit muddied. So, Cunanan was obsessed with Versace and bragged about his close friendship with Versace. However, these claims were symptomatic of Cunanan's delusions of grandeur, as he also falsely claimed to have met other celebrities. However, FBI agents believe that Versace and Cunanan had indeed previously met in San Francisco, although the details surrounding their relationship, or perhaps lack thereof, remain a mystery. And then Maureen Orth published an article in Vanity Fair in 2008 that said Versace and Cunanan met briefly at a nightclub in San Francisco in 1990, lining up with the FBI's belief of the relationship between them. And this was according to several eyewitnesses. And it was also believed that they would have interacted a lot more, as both were involved in sex for hire circles. However, Versace's family has denied, and has steadfast denied, that Versace and Cunanan ever met. And the motive for Versace's death still remains a mystery. People were trying to figure out, was this a case of Cunanan holding a personal grudge for Versace, or was it just a killing, as he was, like I said, a spree killer? He killed four other people before this. Um, so Versace's body ended up being cremated, and his ashes were returned to the family estate near Cernovio, and they were buried in the family vault at Moltrasio Cemetery near Lake Como in Lombardy. And Versace had a funeral liturgy at Milan Cathedral, which was attended by over 2,000 people, including Naomi Campbell, Princess Diana, and Elton John. And in September of 1997, it was declared that Santo, Versace's brother, was appointed the new CEO of Versace, and Donatella was appointed the new head of design for Versace. And in his will, he left 50% of his fashion empire to his niece Allegra, with her and her brother Daniel inheriting Versace's art collection. And Allegra received her inheritance worth approximately 500 million when she turned 18 in 2004. So, this one, excuse me, sorry. This one is kind of interesting, and for a few reasons. For starters, there's not really it's not really known what exactly the relationship was between Versace and the killer Andrew Cunanan, and was it just a brief meeting, and then the illusions of grandeur made Cunanan think that he knew Versace personally, and so that was the motive to kill him? Was it more to that relationship? People aren't really too sure, and it's kind of a switch up from the norm from the other criminal cases I've investigated up to this point, because I was looking at the other like murder type cases I've done, such as like O.J. Simpson or Chris Benoit or Marvin Gaye. The killers had a more personal relationship. Of course, O.J., who of course allegedly murdered Nicole Brown, was her ex-husband and everything, and then there was Chris Benoit, who was Nancy Benoit's husband and Daniel Benoit's father, and there was Marvin Gaye, who was killed by his father, Marvin Gaye Sr. So we see clear relationships between the killers, and to an extent, clear motives as to why they were killed. But for Versace, it's very vague. It's very mysterious at exactly what's going on, why this has happened. They've said the police have said they have no idea, and they can't investigate it. This case obviously didn't result in Cunanan going to court because he committed suicide 8 days later. So, obviously they can't get any answers from him, and it looks like, hey, well, I was able to like research and everything. It didn't look like they questioned anybody else who knew Cunanan and why exactly he would murder Versace or four other people. Well, and yeah, so it's very mysterious to where there's not really too much of a clear cut answer, or I guess it could perhaps be more up to interpretation and what exactly is going on. Like what could it be that you think was the reason why Cunanan killed Versace? Perhaps it was the illusion of grandeur. Perhaps because he was, like I said, a spree killer who killed four other people before killing Versace. Maybe it's just he saw Versace as a victim and just went up and shot him, especially when Versace was unsuspecting as he was walking back into his mansion. Yeah, it's not really clear. So this one I think is kind of interesting in that regard. And the other thing is that there seem to be conflicting stories. Versace's family is saying, hey, Versace didn't know this guy at all. They've steadfast has denied any relationship at all, or any friendship or anything like that between Versace and Cunanan. But on the other hand, we have people saying they did indeed meet at a nightclub in San Francisco in 1990, but it did say briefly, so maybe it was just like a hello, how you doing kind of thing. and perhaps it may have been more, but perhaps we'll never know. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this, not only what happened, but my analysis of it. Did I do a okay job of analyzing this or not? And any insight that you may have that I may have missed, is please feel free to let me know. Um, we got a bunch of stuff coming this week. We got some wrestling reviews. I'm gonna be reviewing No Way Out 2008. I'm likely gonna be doing that between either tomorrow or Thursday, so stay tuned for that. And System Shock Radio and Tales from the Labyrinth are coming this week. We're gonna have those be live, of course, because this is the bi-weekly and it's also the live week. So Saturday night at 11 p.m. over on Instagram Live on the Nigelverse page on Instagram will be Tales from the Labyrinth. So if you haven't already, go follow that page and make sure you tune in for that. And then System Shock Radio will be live on Facebook on at 1 p.m. on Sunday. So go check that out. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you for watching. And my MCU retrospective video is out now. I published it yesterday. So if you haven't already, go check that out. And I will see you guys later. Peace.